we'll catch the floats coming forward.
Yeah.
And then we'll pick up a little bit on their side as they get up to about this point here.
Yeah.
But each float's going to sort of interfere with the one after it.
Right, I see, I see.
Some of the staging kind of stuff. That's all in about, I don't know how many square blocks.
Ring the bell. Just pass it through.
Right on the other side of these oxen.
All right, I'll go.
He was up there with.
Here he comes.
He was, yeah, he was up there with the stagecoach.
At the tail end and right.
Kind of by.
That's great. We're going to allow for either kind of grade here.
You will see everybody was in. Of the Centennial
Smile for the camera.
Made this great event possible. So just sit back and relax. They're going to be coming by very, very shortly.
Let's take a picture.
Hi, Dan.
Hi, Lida.
And you're totally empty of people. You're going to get the mood basket.
The floats and the events in the parade this afternoon are going to be judged by the judges here on the reviewing stand. Chamber of Commerce President Don Canfield riding in Dr. Mike Bonfilio's 1930 Model A. Come on, Dan. And here comes the Iowa City Community Band. Let's have...
Oh.
20.
Our story begins in 1826 when John Gilbert, depicted by Jim Nugel, was the first white person to trod the soil of Johnson County. The Muskogee Indians are played by the Order of the Arrow Boy Scouts and Coralville Kirkwood Central Cub Pack. The Order of the Arrow Muskogee Indians. In 1838, Robert Lucas appointed the first governor of the new territory of Iowa, along with his wife, Friendly, at Plum Grove, depicted by the Riverside Theater. Here are the Democratic Party portraying Robert Lucas as a Democrat, sponsored by the Democratic Party. The first courthouse and the first district court held with a judge is being enacted by the Johnson County Board of Supervisors. That was in 1838. May 4th, 1839, the site selected for the first capital of Iowa. Jeff Karsten, Carrie Beatty, and Roger Heilman will be portraying the first three territorial legislators who were the commissioners appointed to select the site. Sponsored by the Iowa City Community Theater. A covered wagon pulled by oxen owned by Joan Nugel. The first post office, represented by an Iowa City post office vehicle, with Bible in hand and gospel in his heart. The First Methodist Church service will be represented by Lee Kemp, portraying a 19th century circuit rider, Joseph Kirkpatrick. Reverend Kirkpatrick rode the circuit into Iowa City in May 1939. The first Iowa City stagecoach, Iowa City Mayor John McDonald and wife riding in the coach. Coralville Mayor Michael Catchy and wife will be riding in a 1900 stagecoach owned by Jerry Lindeman from Swisher. The stagecoach was used by the Iowa City Livery Company to taxi people around town at the turn of the century. First school, 1840, represented by Robert Lucas Elementary School, with wagon and 1840 schoolhouse memorabilia. Students are attired in 1840 clothing. In 1841, the first newspaper, the Iowa City Standard, illustrated by the Iowa City Press Citizen, using stacks of newspapers as hay bales for an old-fashioned hay rack ride. The first brewery in Iowa City, illustrated by John's Grocery, which incidentally was established in 1848. There were three breweries in the vicinity of the first brewery, located at 319 East Market Street, all in a one-block area. The first Johnson County Fair is depicted by a sign carried by Sandra Van Horn, the 4-H flag carried by Clint Bigelow and Ryan Carpenter, 4-H uniforms worn by the West Lucas Whirlwind 4-H club members, Jackie Stebbins, Mandy Bigelow, Tara Higgins, Jessica Bauer, and Jenny Dreckman. Carl Heber at a 1926 Wurlitzer Band organ, followed by the Shrine Clowns and the Camel Wheels. In 1855, the first railroad in Iowa City, Pokey Pete from Cedar Falls, has the honor of representing this historical event. Pokey is sponsored by the Iowa City Chamber of Commerce Ambassadors. In 1855, the first railroad in Iowa City. In 1860, Iowa City Hall was used for Civil War veterans meetings. The Army Reserve color in dress blues will be commemorating this event. The color guard is under the direction of Staff Sergeant John Michelson. First annual Old Settlers Picnic and Meeting in the Woodlawn area. Keith Hemingway has filled a hayrack with old settler descendants to commemorate this great event. The first annual Old Settlers Picnic. Approaching the reviewing stand are two Irish lads carrying a banner of Iowa City Founders. The Iowa City Founders banner is followed by the Church of Jesus Christ Latter-day Saints. Characterization of a Mormon pioneer family and with a hand cart from the Johnson County Heritage Museum, like those used to move into this area. The Mormons are singing pioneer hymns. The County Johnson Irish float with 8-foot leprechauns
ride our old Irish.
with walkers.
Meet.
There, that's how they.
Oh, is that gonna? There you go. Driver.
Look at that 8-foot leprechaun. Walkers and dancers. The first Mennonite church on a hayrack of singers in Mennonite costumes. And the Welsh Congregational Church. Old Man's Creek, established in 1846. St. Wenceslas Bohemian founders ask you to take a gander at Goosetown, with their float displaying a log cabin, a coop of geese, and Paul Miller's band playing Bohemian Czech music.
About Goosetown.
Not quite that old.
Well, have you heard stories? That they used to keep geese in town.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah?
That's where the name came from.
What part of town was that?
Right here.
That's
This way.
that's north.
Market Street.
North of Market.
and east.
North and east of Market Street.
Okay, now was there a particular ethnic group that might be associated with that area of town?
Bohemian.
Bohemian. All right.
We're now at 1873. The first hospital with Bob Hazeltine's horses will pull a wagon with 3 sisters of mercy, symbolizing the nuns who came to Iowa City to establish Iowa City's first hospital. It will be followed by Mercy's Family of Today. My, how we've grown. In 1877, the first opera house came into existence in Iowa City. George L. Gay Funeral Home brings this float to you in commemoration of the dedication of the first opera house. And the first telephone exchange in Johnson County is depicted by this antique switchboard and telephone, compliments of Usher's Ferry of Pioneer Village at Seminole Valley Park. Sponsor of this float is the Coralville Division of the Chamber of Commerce. There were 35 phones in working order at the beginning. That's followed by the motor ambulance service to Johnson County Ambulance Service, established in 1966. The first electricity generated The history of street lighting by Iowa Illinois Gas and Electric is depicted here. Their first street lighting was done by gas lights in 1857. The evolution of street lighting shows the old-time lighting compared to the new. Fielding of the first University of Iowa football team. This float is filled with placards of the most memorable teams at Iowa and hopefully Herky. Iowa was admitted to the Big Nine in 1899 and played its first homecoming game against Wisconsin in 1912. The I Club is celebrating 100 years of football at the University of Iowa. The replica of the University of Iowa hospital bus that just went by, property of the University of Iowa Medical Museum in the Colleton Pavilion. The area designated for the hospital was the present Seashore Hall, East Hall, located right here. And now we have the first public library. 1896 was the date. A van decorated with pictures of the Carnegie Library, Iowa City's first library, followed by many book floats with children costumed to depict various books.
Yeah, okay.
Hi, Andy. What'd you like about that book?
Hey.
The way it makes me there.
All right.
The establishment of Economy Bankers Advertising came in 1896. Economy Bankers Advertising owner Bill Bywater is driving his 1922 two-seated open Ford touring car to represent the company's establishment. Pilgrim's Chapter, Daughters of the American Revolution. This float is a nearly exact replica of the float the group entered in the 1939 Centennial Parade. Establishment of the Donahue Lensing Funeral Home is represented by this horse-drawn hearse. A hearse of this type would have been the ultimate in the late 1880s and the early 1900s.
We wanted to do something that pertained to the business, so we thought a good example of that would be to use an old hearse. Bob Ullman owns the hearse in Williamsburg, and it goes back to, I guess, 1904, and it was made in Sterling, Illinois, and he's restored it to the way it looks today. So.
Red just as good as this hooked up. And it does go. Bye.
1904, establishment of Hills Bank is commemorated by this two-team mail hitch owned and driven by Bernard Reed of Washington, Iowa. In 1908, the first auto appears on Iowa City streets. Iowa Valley Region Antique Auto Club presents these cars from 1900 to 1969.
You gonna get to ride in that?
Yeah.
You gonna ride in that?
Three-door touring, member of the Iowa City Antique Car Club, Iowa Valley Region. 1929 Model A, owner Henry Yoder. 1930 Model A Coupe, owner Silas and Audrey Fink. At a cost of $545. You could purchase this car from Burkett, Reinhardt, and Upgraft in 1930 at the present J.C. Penney parking lot. 1930 Chevrolet Coupe, owner Jack and Pat Skay. Three-window coupe, sold for $575, brand new. 1937 Packard, owner the Pinehurst Farms, originally owned by the McCready family of Iowa City. A 1938 Buick, owner Rose Hancock. A 1954 Cadillac, owned by Dane Stevens, driven by Bob Carson. A 1956 Buick Century, Vernon and Billy Brogla, owners. Knoll Motors was the Buick dealership in Iowa City. A 1966 Corvair, owner Jerry Nossiger, rather controversial car of the 1960s. 1924 Ford. First airplane seen in Iowa City, that midget Mustang plane was built by Tom Kennedy, sponsored by the Iowa City Airport Committee. Special trains of people came to Iowa City to see this first flight. The day of multiple takeoffs and landings thrilled 10,000 Iowans. Unfortunately, ended up in a crash. We're up to 1912, the first paid fire department. These two white horses depict the legendary fire department horses, Snowball and Pink Nose, and Highball, a black nose. Coralville Volunteer Fire Department pulls a hose cart. Calling all cooks. Calling all cooks. Joanna Nelson Beers caught a ride in Bud Lewis's 1923 American LaFrance fire truck.
But it's amazing. That has 3 spark plugs for each cylinder, and a lot of things can happen to that engine, and it'll still keep running.
A truck like this served to put out fires in Iowa City for some time.
For many years. The last one that it really worked hard was the community building fire, and it sat there and pumped all day. And then it went out to the park, and that did it. It stayed out there for 20 years or so, and it was a mess. But he's going to try and restore it.
Where was the community building fire, and what year was that?
Well, that was 1953, and it's over here in the corner where the rec center is now, right diagonally from the Episcopal Church.
This 1866 Boyer Motor 87 antique fire engine is sponsored by Sharon Mutual Insurance Association. This fire engine has a 40-gallon water tank. The Coralville Volunteer Fire Department's ladder truck. And Quality Care Lawn Company's antique fire truck. Followed by Iowa City's fire department's newest and largest fire apparatus, a 1988 Grumman Aerial Cat. Iowa City's first fire truck was purchased in 1913 and cost $9,500. My, how we've grown. In 1913, the construction of the Masonic Temple took place on College Street. This float depicts the cornerstone laying of the Masonic Temple in 1913.
You can't find the door now.
No, leave your coats on. Leave your coats on. You guys kind of practice doing that? One of you hold? Either one of you got gloves?
I can hold it. You'd like to by the wood.
We want to sit or just... I think, yeah, we're going to sit, and then these guys can stand in behind, and you'll have something to hang on to a little bit, I think.
Oh, wow,
Mom,
great.
you don't really have to get it on there now. Just kind of, that's the way. Did you see my long underwear?
Armistice Day at Iowa City. World War I veterans Roland Smith and Hugh Mike Dunlap of the Roy Chopik Post riding in a 1938 Ford sedan. Ed Hansen, also a World War I veteran, riding in that car. The First Methodist Church Boy Scout Troop 212 will represent 68 years of scouting in Iowa City. The troop is sponsored by the Donahue Lensing Funeral Home. First National Bank is depicting your first choice since 1932. World War II veterans are Jake Cobes, Don Williams, Carl Campbell, Bill Block, and Willer Freed, walking and riding, 1950 to 1955. Korean veterans, 4 to 6, Roy Chopik, Legion Post number 17 members will march and carry weapons and colors. Building of Veterans Administration Hospital began in 1952. The VA hospital was the largest public building in Iowa upon its completion. 10,000 people attended the opening. It has remained in continuous operation since its opening, and a new addition will be dedicated in June 1989 and was named after Ralph Neppel, Congressional Medal of Honor winner in World War II. The Iowa City Pilot Club salutes full citizenship for the handicapped with a float of old and new wheelchairs. The antique wheelchair is compliments of the Johnson County Medical Historical Society.
Do you guys have a number put in your windshield at all? No.
So you're Senior Citizen of the Year?
No, this gentleman is.
This is.
I forget.
No, I'm the boy's driver.
He's a chauffeur and treasurer.
Johnson County Extension banners are saying Extension 75th Anniversary and Iowa City 150. The Big Brothers and Big Sisters, a fire engine carrying bigs and littles, driven by Don Slothauer, a director of the board of Big Brothers and Big Sisters. Over 100 children are being served in this area, and 100 are looking for Big Brothers and Big Sisters. Yoder Feeds was established in 1934 and will be represented by this entry, a 1919 Defiance, the first truck to carry Yoder Feeds in burlap feed bags. Support American Agriculture, 1839 to 1989. The draft horses are owned by Paul and Joan Newsel. Dane's Dairy depicts a dairy farm. The Hy-Vee deli van and 1938 Chevy Coupe represent the High-Feed Food Store number 2, located on Rochester and First Avenue. The Hy-Vee Food Stores incorporated in 1938. Dean Moore of Quality Care drives his buckboard wagon filled with Goodwill employees. They're being chased by a donkey and a llama. That's not a donkey, that's a horse. The Iowa City Noon Lions Club member, Woodrow Weber, driving a 1954 Kaiser. The Lions Club was founded in 1917 and is the largest community service organization in the world. A major project of the group is, of course, the Lions Sight Saving Program. The Benevolent Paternal Order of Elks, number 590, Iowa City Elks members Bob Henderson and Clem Frimmel in a 1955 Ford Thunderbird owned by Tom Mueller. The Iowa City Coralville Convention and Visitors Bureau employees Renee Jedlicka and Robin Heenis with Bucky the Tourist Dollar. Ron Farber from Eagles. This is an authentic small pony hitch. Joanne Nugel, owner. Courtesy of Domino's Pizza. 2 ponies and wagon carrying 3 children dressed in period costumes, Puppy and Lamb somewhere, Amy and Bill Rockefeller and children. This is Ernest Horn School. Emphasizes Iowa City's 150th birthday with a birthday cake float. Children from the school walk beside the float costumed as candles. The North Liberty Saddle Club with Georgia Davis, president, riding side saddle. 80 what? 86. This is members of the Ralph Murray family, the Michael Murray family, Mary Ann Murray and Jim Henderson, riding in a vintage carriage drawn by registered Morgan horses. Colorful blade entries here, of course, the Hills Fire Department, followed by the Lone Tree Volunteer Fire Department, and the Ronald McDonald House, followed by the Johnson County Ambulance Service. Have you enjoyed this Sesquicentennial Parade? Let's have a nice hand for Margaret Morgan and her committee and all of the people that participated in this Sesquicentennial Parade. Thank you, everyone.